Very good evening, friends. See, today we'll be just discussing about the first two tests what you have taken in geography, right? And the marks what you got, don't take it personally. That is a feedback mechanism. See, based on the mark, you have to improve where exactly you stand, right? So don't consider that this mark is your knowledge, right, sir? And most of you, because it is first test, I assume you did not prepare. So directly you came to the first test, right, sir? Now see, the objective of this program, let me tell you very frankly, for the very first time formally you are getting exposed to the syllabus, sir. See, so far you have seen geography, history, polity, everything you have seen, but what exactly you have in mains examination for this subject you have not seen in detail, sir. So this is one opportunity where you will be seeing the nuances of this syllabus. Right, each and every word, what exactly is the meaning, right, sir? So maybe by the end of first or second week of January, complete mains examination, that is GS 1, 2 and 3 complete, not even a single topic I have left it, right, sir? Including your preliminary examination GS part, we'll be covering it, and current affairs also we are just taking it, sir, right? Almost starting from the month of July till that month of December, current affairs will be completed, sir. So if I'm not wrong, somewhere around 6 months of current affairs will also be done, right? Now only thing is that you have to prepare every 3 days. I understand it is very tedious. It is more tedious for me than for you, right, sir? This is what the reality is, because getting your paper corrected within 3 days is impossible. Actually, it is not possible, right? That's the reason. It means without conveying the same meaning, we are delaying it, right, sir? Now, whatever be the case, one advantage is there, sir. Advantage, continuously you will be almost putting yourself in the studies, sir. Right, 3 days you at least confine to the study, right? 6 days you work in a week, that is fine enough, fair enough, right? And one more thing, I also heard that people are coming from a very long distance. People are traveling from Bangalore, right? People are traveling from Tiruvannamalai, and they come every third day, right? For genuine reason, let me have you one choice, sir. I'm giving you one choice only if you have a genuine reason. See, every Saturday till first week of December or January, sorry, you will be having a test discussion. Every Saturday you will be having a test discussion. So what I thought, if you want this particular option to be given for you, I can give you an option. It means the two tests. Normally every Tuesday and Friday you have a test, sir. If you have a genuine reason, what you can do, this Tuesdays and Fridays test as a single test, you can take it on Saturday itself. So one day you come, complete Saturday, right, morning you take the test, and maybe evening you attend the test discussion, and one day almost you can, devote for the Steeplechase program, sir. And this option I am just giving you only for the people who are traveling from a long distance, sir. Otherwise, if I am just giving, I am making this as a choice for everybody, the program itself will get diluted, sir. So let us not go for it unless and until you have a very genuine reason for it, right, sir? Now, coming to the test discussion, most of you generally, very first time when I asked this question, sir, I always ask people that which examination is easy, mains or prelims. People always say mains, right, sir? Actual reason for saying so is very simple, because people are normally not given a chance to write mains, right, sir? This is what the practical reason people say mains is very easy. You give me a chance, I'll prove who am I, right, sir? Now this is what actually practically means, sir. We have it as a case. But tell you, it means preparing for mains examination is easy, not the examination as such, right, sir? So when I talk about preparing for mains versus preparing for prelims, I accept preparing for mains is easy because I understand syllabus is given in a detailed fashion. But examination itself is not easy. It means you have to present your ideas in almost descriptive format. Answer writing becomes inevitable part, sir. So only thing is that slowly, steadily you should go for answer writing. Preliminary examination, one advantage you have, right, sir? Only thing is that answer is there in front of you, you are searching it, right, sir? Few almost search it with the element of luck, few almost use your knowledge, search it, right, sir? Now only thing is that answer is there, you are searching it, but mains examination it is not the case, sir. You have to write it, you have to represent it, right? It's an art. It's an art. Slowly, steadily we'll just evolve it. First test, don't mind about it. It means after a very long gap, your complete orientation you are changing. So far your orientation was preliminary examination, completely objective. Even somebody comes and asks your name, you will just say that give me 4 choice, I will select, right, sir? This is what the orientation we call them as, right? Completely you become objective in nature. So slowly you have to change it, right? And one thing, Steeplechase as a program will take care of both prelims as well as mains. So continuous fashion, I will not put you in an objective mode or a descriptive mode, right, sir? So you have to shuttle between prelims and mains, right? And one more thing, as I promised, questions will be within the topic what I have decoded, sir. And not for the entire program, this will not be the case. Just initial stage, right? Question will lie well within the topics what I have given. I have not given the questions, what I have given you is only the topics, right, sir? So, if you are almost reading only the topic, at least 80 to 90% of the questions, you should be in a position to handle it, sir, answer it, right? So, what? Bare minimum out of 8 questions, you try to answer 7 questions, sir. If you are almost answering less than 7 questions, it means you are doing injustice to yourself, right? It means somewhere you have undermined this complete program. It means, see, this program is not for our benefit, it is for your own benefit, right? So, only thing is that whatever we can support you, we are just supporting it, sir, right? Ultimately, success is yours, sir, right? If at all, if you are successful, complete hard work is yours, right? Only thing is that all others, what we are doing is a supportive role, sir, right? So, try to complete at least 7 questions out of 8. And one more thing, you are taking only half test. Half test. In examination, you are supposed to write how many questions, sir? 20 questions. But whenever I say half test, you will be supposed, or you are supposed to take how many questions now? 10 questions. Practically speaking, the time 1.5 hours, you should be in a position to take 10 questions at least, sir. But what we are taking is only 8. I know that because first, I am not considered time as a constraint. I will not take time as a constraint. I will take only knowledge as a constraint. Once my knowledge is fulfilled, then I will consider time as a constraint. Right, sir? So, only thing is that initial few test, number of questions what you will be having is only 8, sir. Right. Later part, towards the middle of this program, this 8 will be converted into 9. And when I talk about polity and economy, you will have 10 questions, sir. So, slowly, steadily, we will also increase that number of questions. Word limit is same. Right. Word limit is same. Only thing is that you have to increase the pace of your answer writing. Right, sir. Now, sir. See, generally I say, whenever you are writing your mains examination, 7 scoring papers are there. Totally there are 9. When I talk about 7 scoring papers, sir, always I say this. All 7 scoring papers should not be written in a same fashion. Same approach will not work for all 7 papers, sir. Right, at least this 7 papers should be divided into 4 categories, sir. Right, sir. When I talk about GS 1, 2 and 3, it falls under one category, sir. GS4, it falls under another category. Essay falls in one category, and of course your optional subject falls into another category, sir. And again, one drawback of Steeplechase, Steeplechase is not taking care of your optional subject. What you have to do, at least before December, try to complete 1 paper of your optional subjects, sir. Very crucial. Because I understand optional subject becomes very, very important when it comes for fetching a service, sir. Most of the topper, one thing you will find, their optional subject marks will be fantastic. Right, sir. So you please take care of this optional subject also, sir, side by side. Right, at least 2 to 3 hours every day you devote for this optional subject, sir. Right. Now coming for this optional subject, when I talk about approach of optional subject, this should be a specialized approach, sir. Now what is a specialized approach? For example, whenever I talk about optional subject or optional paper, a person who is correcting the paper will be from the same option. Assume that if at all, if you are writing geography as an option, right, okay, fine. You are writing public administration as an option, right, most of you. If there is a case, I understand faculty from public administration will be almost correcting your paper. So whatever you are trying to communicate, he can understand, right. That's the reason we say, go for a specialized approach. Your own language, whatever the theories, whatever the things are there, you can represent it. He may understand, right, sir. Now, I don't have a problem in almost using this specialized knowledge or so technical knowledge, or you use the knowledge of your respective subject, right, sir. Now when I talk about essays, sir, essay is about a logical approach, sir. In general, I say essay is all about rationalism. Whenever I talk about presenting an opinion, right, 2 ways I can present my opinion. One, I call them as a rationalistic approach. 2, I call them as a chauvinistic approach. Whenever I say rationalistic approach, I take a decision, my decision is based on some reasons. Chauvinistic approach, right sir, I take a decision but my decision is not based on any reasons as such, otherwise I am not in a position to almost say what is the reason for it. Essay is all about a rationalistic approach, sir. Whatever decision you are taking, it has to be logically arranged, you have to justify why exactly it is so. Right, it means a balanced way you have to represent it. Mostly it is logical approach, sir. Essay we call them as ethical approach, sir. And what is this ethical approach? Nobody knows. Right, sir. Otherwise, what I believe ethical approach is nothing but how beautifully you convey your lies, sir. Art of answer means, whenever I say art of lying, sir, this is what essay paper is all about. Right. Now coming to our business, when I talk about GS 1, 2 and 3, it is more of factual approach, sir. It is more of factual approach. Why I am insisting on this fact, let me tell you, sir. What my understanding is today, GS paper will be corrected with the help of key, and trust me, UPSC's key will be far better than what we produce. Right, sir. So it means the key what we are taking may not be related with UPSC key at all, but one thing is there, both are using this word called as key. Right, sir. UPSC is also having this key. Right. Now what I strongly believe, this GS 1, 2 and 3 papers will be corrected using a key. There is a reason for it. For example, any paper you take, sir. For example, I am just talking about GS1. How many subjects are there if I am just talking about it? History is there, geography is there, social issue is there, and even when I talk about history, right, entire history is there, including the world history, post-independence, consolidation, everything is there. Now comes the question, who is going to correct the paper? Right, is multiple people going to correct the paper? Answer is no. There is only one paper or one person will be correcting the paper, because the volume of people or volume of persons who are writing the examination has also increased, sir. That many evaluators we do not have. Right, if that is the case, logically speaking, only one person will be correcting your paper, and he can be from any stream. Now comes the question, if that is the case, what is the best way of approaching answer writing for GS? Put it factual, sir. Put it factual. Factual does not mean you are presenting in bullet forms. Factual means more of facts you are almost throwing, and fact is just a statement of reality, sir. Right, you almost go for this factual approach. More is a chance that these facts or those facts what you are throwing can match with the key, sir. And whoever corrects your paper may understand it. And try to avoid diagrams, particularly process diagrams, sir. Geography, when it comes for geography, entire geography, we say geography is a study of process. Right, sir. Fold orogenesis. How fold orogenesis takes place? We have plenty of diagram. Even today I forgot that how fold orogenesis takes place, sir. I myself did not understand most of your diagrams. If that is the case, certainly, if a history faculty is correcting your paper, right, sir, gone. This is knowledge, sir. Completely, he cannot understand. If that is the case, that space and time we are actually wasting. See, you may go for flow charts. You may go for circle diagrams, right? You may go for almost in general explaining the process charts, we call them as, right? Everything you can go for it. Otherwise, if you are going for a diagram, just see that diagrams or that particular diagram is available in standard books or basic books like NCERT. If basic diagrams are there, please, almost you can take it forward, right, sir? So otherwise, try avoiding complex representation. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't go for too many complex representation or too many complex diagrams, because a person normally may not understand the process as such, right? So try to be more factual in general, sir. Right. Now with this idea, our entire steeplechase is going to concentrate only on these three papers for mains examinations, sir. Now, since I said the very first test, most of the people, means most of the students, they had a problem with what to write answer, how to start, right, whether to have introduction and conclusion or not, right? Let me tell you, general studies, depending upon the length of the question, you go for introduction and conclusion, right, sir? It is not always mandatory that you have to go for introduction or conclusion, because sometimes what happens, the answer demands only 150 words, sir. 75 words you give introduction, 75 words conclusion. Over, sir. There is no answer. Right. Try avoiding it, because every introduction and conclusion is going to almost weed away those words what you will be using for the body or the answer. So be very precise. It means very short definitions or very short introductions you can give it. Introduction can be anything. Right. For example, introduction can be a definition. Introduction can be an indirect conclusion of your answer. It can be anything. Right, sir. Now, otherwise, there is one standard format of answer writing, sir. If at all, if I want to almost arrange how exactly my structure should be, sir. Generally we say any factual approach or any factual answers, may almost answer this WH question, sir. There is one very popular technique of answer writing, sir. You just answer this WH question. Now, what is this WH question? Say, for example, what? Right, sir. For example, where? You say how, though it is not WH, how. Right, sir. You say why. Right, sir. You say when. This is what you call them as a WH questions. Right. Now, what is this WH question? Whenever I talk about means these WH questions in subject of geography, whenever I say what I exactly mean, either it can be a definition, right, sir, or it can be a concept. Right, sir. For example, I am just talking about, say, for example, I have a feature called as shield. Whenever I say shield, I understand what is a shield. What is a shield? A feature which got formed during Azoic period, I call them as a shield. Assume that this what I mean to be shield. Now comes the question where. Where is nothing but location, how, formation, right, sir, or it is the process, why, it is the reason or causation, and when, it is the time of formation. Right, sir. If that is the case, in general, we say if you do not have any structure in general, you may adopt this WH questions. Right. At least you can jumble it depending upon the nature of the question. Right, sir. For example, whenever I come across temporal analysis, chronological sequence, when will take the center stage, sir? Right, sir. Whenever I talk about the locational aspect, where will take the center stage? Right, sir. So based on the questions, you can almost jumble these concepts, and accordingly one para, one very short or few lines each and every word you can add it, so that it means every answer becomes fulfilled, sir. Right. Still, if you are left with a few informations, right, maybe you can write about its importance and of course miscellaneous. So these are the different heads what exactly your answer can comprise of. Right. Only thing is that each and every head, one or two sentence you add it, your answer becomes fulfilled, sir. Right. This is what one small technique of answer writing is all about. Right. Now with all this idea, what we'll do, we'll just almost take the previous test number 1 and test number 2 of geography. Right, sir. Mains examination, will a kind of a brainstorming we can do, sir. And one more thing, when I talk about mains answer writing, there is no one way of writing answer. Right. It can be any number of ways, but only thing is that you have to see whether this question is answered or not. Sometimes you also come across this operative words. Right. Elaborate, comment, critically evaluate. Right, sir. All these words you call them as operative words. That operative words has to be justified. Right, sir. Now one by one we'll start with the very first question, sir. Very first question. I hope you have your answer sheets with you. Paper 1. First test. There itself, if you want to add values to it, you can add it, sir. Now, the very first question, it was a direct question, sir. It says, sir, explain the thermal gradient of Earth's interior, sir. Sorry? Right, sir. So let out very first question. Your very first question says, how does Indian Ocean dipole reduces the impact of El Nino, sir. Impact of El Nino. Right, sir. Now, when I talk about this very first question, it says Indian Ocean. How does Indian Ocean dipole reduces the impact of El Nino on Indian monsoons? Now, if this is the question, the ultimate objective, or when I talk about the main crux of this question, how does Indian Ocean dipole reduces the impact of El Nino on Indian monsoon? Right, a very brief introduction, if you want to give it, you can say that what exactly is El Nino, sir. If I'm just talking about this answer, one, you can say what is El Nino, and number two, you can say what is Indian Ocean dipole. And after that, you can talk about what are the ill effects or what is the exact impact of El Nino on Indian Ocean or Indian monsoon as such. Now, for example, when I talk about El Nino, sir, what is this El Nino? Whenever I talk about occasional warm waters which is almost replacing the cold Peruvian current along the South American coastline, you call this condition as El Nino, right, sir? Or you simply put it this way, a teleconnections or a reversal of the pressure system what happens in South Pacific Ocean, you call them as El Nino. Or simple way of definition, generally you say cold Peruvian current replaced by warm waters, you call them as El Nino, right? Any of this definition you can say what is exactly is El Nino. Then whenever I talk about impact of El Nino on Indian monsoon, you may not explain the process. Explaining the process is not needed here. You simply talk about the ill effects of means almost El Nino or impact of El Nino on Indian monsoon, sir. So whenever I have El Nino, what will be the impact of Indian monsoon? One thing I understand, monsoon will be erratic in nature, right, sir? If that is the case, right, in general there will be a deficit in Indian monsoon, right, sir? And one more thing, when I talk about the deficit, acute deficit, you can also declare it as a drought-like condition. So in general, Indian monsoon will be a failure, right, sir? Now, El Nino and Indian monsoon, they are inversely proportionate to each other, right, sir? So this is what initially I have to explain. Then I have to explain what exactly is Indian Ocean dipole, sir. What is this Indian Ocean dipole? See, El Nino is also a dipole. Now, whenever I talk about dipole, what is this dipole, sir? Any ocean you take it, right, along the same latitude, the temperature, surface temperature of the water is not uniform, right? Say for example, one side of this ocean can be warmer and another side of this ocean can be colder. When I talk about El Nino like condition, American coast, South American coast becomes warmer and Australian coast becomes colder, right, sir? Similarly, when I talk about Indian Ocean side, right, I have this rhythmic pattern or rhythmic sequence of this warm and cold currents almost interchanging with each other. Normal condition, whenever I talk about normal conditions, if you're there in Indian Ocean or any ocean for that case, what is the normal condition, sir? When I talk about normal condition, western side of any ocean will always be warmer, sir. West is warm. That's the reason somewhere we always taken this name, right, or this term, west is warm. So anytime any ocean you put yourself in, always you will find the western side of the ocean almost having a warmer condition and eastern side of the ocean, from your side, right, when I talk about the eastern side of the ocean, it will be having a cold condition and western side of the ocean will be having a warm condition. Now, surface temperature of the ocean and atmospheric circulation, they are very closely related, sir. Wherever I have warm water, sir, wherever I have warm conditions, what will be the pressure system created? It's a low pressure, sir. And wherever I have a cold condition, a pressure system created is a high pressure. And accordingly, I know wind always moves from high pressure to low pressure. Now, Indian Ocean dipole is a condition where I can have this warm and cold waters happening in African coast and Australian coast both, sir. Diagrammatically, this diagram may not be represented in examination, just for our own purpose. Right, sir. So when I talk about Indian Ocean, two possibilities are there. One possibility, Indian Ocean side, African side becoming warm and Australian side becoming cold. This is one possibility. When I talk about the second possibility, African side becoming cold and Australian side becoming warm, sir. Now I have an understanding. Whenever I talk about monsoon, what exactly is a monsoon? deflected trade wind of the southern hemisphere in northern hemisphere, you call them as monsoon, right sir? So I have a wind called as trade wind. This trade wind on entering the northern hemisphere, it becomes deflected towards the right under the effect of Coriolis force, that you call them as a monsoon, right sir? Now what happens, whenever I talk about monsoon, I understand monsoon flows in southwesterly fashion, and the same monsoon extension of this wind in southern hemisphere flows in southeasterly in fashion. Now this southeasterly wind or this southwesterly wind depends on the success of this southeasterly wind, sir. If that is the case, when exactly I can have the success of the southeast wind? Only if I have warm conditions or a low pressure on African side and cold condition, that is high pressure on the Australian side. Now let me come to this question again. What is El Nino? We have defined. And whenever I talk about El Nino, we understand that El Nino has a negative impact on Indian monsoon, right? It results in drought-like condition because the wind which comes to India drastically gets affected during El Nino condition. But whenever you have Indian Ocean dipole, particularly this arrangement is called as positive phase, right? If at all Indian Ocean experiences Indian Ocean dipole positive phase, right, El Nino's effect can be mitigated or it can be reduced, right, because the southwest monsoon will sustain because of effective southeastern trade of southern hemisphere, right sir? This is what this Indian Ocean dipole is all about, right? If you can connect Indian Ocean dipole, and after understanding or after explaining Indian Ocean dipole, you can say that how exactly the impact can be reduced, right? What are the different ways that impact can be reduced? Normally during El Nino condition, India will experience drought-like condition, but if you have Indian Ocean dipole positive phase, it will be having a normal condition. Or able to way, a very famous analysis is also there between different combinations what you experience in Indian Ocean, sir. Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean, sir. Though this is not your part of your answer, just for understanding purpose. When I talk about Indian Ocean dipole, there is two phases, sir. One, it is called as positive phase, and two, it is called as negative phase, sir. Now whenever I have positive phase but Pacific Ocean, if you have El Nino, this Indian monsoon will be normal, sir. On the other hand, if I have negative phase and La Nina like condition, again the monsoon will be normal, sir. If I have both positive phase, Indian Ocean dipole, and La Nina like condition, monsoon will be surplus. Sometimes it can result in flood-like situations. On the other hand, when I talk about Indian Ocean dipole negative phase and El Nino-like condition, both are unfavorable for India. It will experience drought-like conditions. This is what the combinations of El Nino and Indian Ocean dipole is all about. Right, sir. So one thing I understand, El Nino is bad for India, right, sir, whereas La Nina is good for India. Similarly, when I talk about Indian Ocean dipole, positive phase is good for India, whereas negative phase is bad for India, sir. Now your answer should be, you talk about El Nino, you talk about the ill effects of El Nino, you talk about Indian Ocean dipole and how exactly this Indian Ocean dipole can reduce the impact on Indian monsoon. Right, sir. Now question number 2. A direct question. Explain the process of fold and block orogenesis. Also explain why fold mountains are more common and dominant than block mountain. Right, sir. Here, without almost specifying that this question is divided into two, logic says this question has two parts, sir. Part 1, you will be answering about the fold and block orogenesis, and part 2 you will be answering about, you will be justifying, am I right? This is the second question, right? Right. Here you will be justifying why exactly fold mountains are dominant than that of block mountains in the world. Right, sir. Now, logically speaking, if at all, if I am just asking myself that which part of this question will be demanding more answer, of course this is part 1. Right, sir. Part 2 is a very simple explanation of it. But otherwise, if at all, if I do not have any ideas about segregation, the best way of segregating the mark distribution is 50-50, sir. Right, if you do not have any idea, assume that, for example, right, this is for 12.5 marks. If it is for 12.5 marks, one part you can make it for 6.5 marks and one part you can answer it for 6 marks. This is normal sense. Right, if you strongly believe that one part is too small and one part is very large, right, worst case scenario, it can be 70-30, sir. So just to tell you, whenever I am just dividing the word limits, right, on the rationalized side it should be 50-50, right. If at all, if I have a clear-cut idea and if I just come to the conclusion that the second part of the question is very small, right, even then I should never go below this 30, sir. Right, sir. So here let me assume this particular question almost demands this 70-30 distribution, sir. Even if you are writing for 50-50, I appreciate it. Right, sir. So here the kind of question that is asked demand only 70-30 proportion. Right, sir. Now if that is the case, you have to explain the process of fold orogenesis. Here they are asking you to explain fold orogenesis. How exactly fold mountains are created? Again, for example, I can have what, where, when, etc. Right, sir. Now when I talk about the fold mountains, where exactly it is created? Along the convergent boundary. Right. How? By the process called as convergence. Whenever compressive stress is induced on a ductile rock, this rock tends to fold. Upfolded part you call them as anticline and downfolded part you call them as a syncline. This is how the fold mountains are created. Only that you are going to explain the process of fold mountains, how it is going to form. If you want to give some examples, you can give it. Right, sir. Similarly, when I talk about block mountain, what exactly you are going to explain is the formation of the block mountain. Again, where? Divergent boundary. How? Heave coupled with throw. Right, sir. What is heave? Horizontal displacement is your heave, and what is throw? Vertical displacement is your throw. Throw is of two types: upward throw and downward throw. So when I talk about block orogenesis, what results in block orogenesis is this heave and upward throw, sir. So only thing is that you will be justifying that it is heave plus upward throw, sir, or upward throw. Or to be on a safer side, you can say horizontal displacement coupled with vertical displacement. So that even this much technical terms we are not taking to the answer sheets. Right. So let us be very general in nature. Right. So post explaining this fold orogenesis and block orogenesis, now comes the second part, sir. It says, also explain why fold mountains are more common and dominant than that of block mountain. Today, when I talk about the global distribution, what dominates is a fold mountain. When I talk about block mountain, examples are very, very limited. But we know the fact, whenever I talk about plate movement, net convergence is always equal to what? Net divergence. So somewhere convergence as an activity is taking place, somewhere divergence as an activity is taking place. So if that is the case, convergence, along convergence I should find what? Fold mountain. Along divergence what I should find is a block mountain. But in reality it is not the case. Block mountains are very, very limited in the geographical extent. The reason is very simple, sir. Two reasons are there. Number one, the most important reasons. Whenever I talk about fold mountains, convergent boundary, most of the convergent boundary of today, they are almost confined to the land area or near to the land. So convergent boundary in the land, what exactly it will be formed? Fold mountain. But most of the divergent boundary, what is equivalent to convergent? I have divergence, but location of divergence, where exactly the divergent boundary today it is located? Oceans. And whenever I talk about oceans and divergence, what is the feature it is formed? Is it a block mountain? No, it is a oceanic ridge, mid-oceanic ridge. So what is so dominant is not block mountain, it is oceanic ridge. This is one reason. Majority of the divergent boundary today is confined where? To the oceans, sir. Right. This is one reason, sir. Confinement of the boundary. The second reason, assume that convergent boundary and a divergent boundary both are located in the same land, assuming, right? Assume that it means both are there in the land area, but even then, right, all convergence will lead to fold mountain, but all divergence will not lead to block mountain. Because whenever I talk about block orogenesis, what are the two things that has to happen for a formation of a block mountain? It is horizontal displacement, what is very normal along a divergent boundary. Along with the horizontal displacement, you should have one more thing taking place, that is called as upward throw. Now what is here uncommon or not so common is this upward throw. Every divergent boundary, what is very common is heave. Heave is common, but what is uncommon is this throw, sir. Throw is not experienced everywhere, right? This is the reason, ultimate reason why exactly block mountains are very limited in general. Number one, as I said, most of the divergent boundary, they are confined to the ocean, right? What dominates the divergent boundary is mid-oceanic ridge, not the block mountains. Even if you find a divergent boundary in the land area, everywhere you don't find a block mountain, because block mountain is a result of two set of process taking place simultaneously, that is horizontal displacement coupled with the vertical displacement. So these are the 2 points what you have to insist, and you have to justify accordingly. Block mountains are not so common in the global scenario, sir. So this is your question number 2, sir. Right. Question number 3. Critically evaluate continental drift theory of Alfred Wegener. One of the direct question. The only thing is that you have to justify critically evaluate. Now comes the question. Critically evaluate is not criticize, sir. Criticize is different, right? The general hobby what everybody has, right, sir? This is critically evaluate. What is this critically evaluate? Both positives and negatives you talk about it, right? Shortcomings. Let me not say it as negatives. Let me talk it, means almost convey it as shortcomings, right? What is the pros? What is the cons? You talk about it, and accordingly you just convey on a positive light, sir, right? You evaluate it, right? If that is the case, what exactly can be the structure of this answer? What can be the structure of this answer? Again I said, WH question, what is this continental drift theory? Right, sir. According to this theory, what exactly this theory is? This theory is completely based on the principle that the present is the key to the past, sir. You call them as post-prediction, sir. You call them as post-prediction. Right. Completely you understand today, an entire geological past has been reconstructed. Right. You say that present is the key to the past. Right. Accordingly, this theory has said in the geological past, Earth had only one supercontinent called as Pangaea, and this Pangaea initially disintegrated into Laurasia and Gondwana constituent, and Gondwana constituent slightly traveling towards equator and towards the west facilitated the present day map of the world, right? Or it has resulted in the formation of present day map of the world. This is what the theory is, right, sir? So post saying what exactly is the theory, you can also talk about the pre-assumptions. What are the pre-assumptions? Don't call it as 4, right, sir? In examination, normally what happens, you say, right, for example, whenever I talk about coal, you say there are 4 types of coals, but what strikes your mind is only 2, right, sir? 2 you write, 3 and 4 you leave it blank, right? Similarly here, whenever you say pre-assumptions, don't say 4 pre-assumptions. You say, what are the pre-assumptions? Pre-assumptions taken by Alfred Wegener, right, or so and so. Don't try to number it. Whatever the pre-assumption strikes your mind, you just write it, right, sir? So don't give the number and fail to conclude or fail to fulfill this number, right, sir? Now, if that is the case, some of the pre-assumptions. What is the pre-assumptions? Sial floating over Sima is a pre-assumption. Right, equatorial gravitational attraction leading to the fleeing from the poles. Right, sir, this is another pre-assumption. Tidal attraction of the moon causing the westward drift, another pre-assumptions. Right, oceanic crust being a passive recipient, no changes taking place in the ocean. This is what the, right, almost the pre-assumptions what we have taken it. Now comes the question, what is the necessary to write the pre-assumptions? Because whenever I talk about critically evaluate, both the positives and negatives I am going to talk about. What is so negative about Alfred Wegener's concept is only this pre-assumptions. So post writing what is pre-assumptions, you can also say what is so weak in pre-assumptions. What is weak in pre-assumptions? Don't explain it. Again, word is a constraint. Word is a constraint. Right. You can say that it is not Sial which is floating over Seema, rather it is lithosphere which is floating over asthenosphere. Right. Equatorial gravitational attraction may not be the reason for drifting of continents. And tidal attraction of the moon is very weak a force to move a continent. Right, and plenty of changes are taking place in the ocean floor. Right, again, you are also talking about the negativities or shortcomings of this theory and pre-assumptions. And to conclude, you can say, though the pre-assumptions are not so strong, or you simply say it is very weak, the theory itself stands good. Right, accordingly, you can say few arguments in suggesting that theory is good. Right, what are the arguments? You can take it in support, jigsaw fit of shape. Right, sir. Near fit of continents like South America and Africa fitting with each other. This one you can take it. Apart from that, the structural similarities of rock between Americas and Africas. Fossil remains and fossil similarities. Mineral similarities we can talk about. You can talk about the process. You can talk about the glacial deposits till it. Right. And of course you also have this paleoclimatic evidences, sir. Right. Taking all this paleoclimatic evidence and other evidences, you indeed you conclude that Alfred Wegener was indeed correct to some extent. Right. What was he correct in saying? Drift of continent has taken place. Right, sir. So critically analyze or critically evaluate both positive and negative you talk about. Write about the theory, preconditions, shortcoming of precondition, how exactly this can be overcome with the argument in support of Alfred Wegener, and accordingly you conclude, sir. Right. See, one of the direct question, and this question was already once asked in UPSC mains examination, sir. So chance of it getting repeated is very less. Question number 4. What do you understand by an air mass? And how does air mass influence the climate of a particular place? Now, what is an air mass? See, air mass is nothing but the three-dimensional mass of an air which is almost homogeneous in nature. Or any three-dimensional homogeneous mixture of air, you call them as an air mass. Right, sir. Now, for example, whenever I am just selecting one mass of an air such that this mass of an air has homogeneous property, you call them as an air mass. Name itself says, and geography one advantage is there, as I always say, if you do not know anything, take this word, split it up, jumble it, explain it. What is air mass? Air mass is nothing but mass of an air. Write it, right, sir. And you can say, just to qualify it, that's what I was also qualifying it, mass of an air which was having homogeneous property, added, it appears as though it is correct. Examiner will believe you, right, sir. Now, homogeneous property. Whenever I talk about any air mass primarily has two properties, sir. One, it is temperature, and two, it is humidity, sir. Humidity. Now, what is humidity? Water vapor present in an air mass. Right, sir. So, whenever I talk about humidity versus moisture, sometimes you can also call it as a moisture, atmospheric moisture. But whenever I talk about humidity, humidity is the amount of water vapor present in an air mass, sir. So what amount of water vapor present in one air mass, you call them as humidity. Right, sir. So this is what the property of any air mass is all about. Right, sir. Now comes the question, what are the different types of air mass, right, we can have? And one more thing, in order to almost acquire some property, an air mass should be confined over a region for a longer time, sir. How long, there is no definition. But we understand it should be somewhat, it should be static. Only if this air mass is almost prevailing over a region, right, the character of this region will be acquired by this air mass. Right, sir. If that is the case, air mass, total number of air mass is 16 different types, sir. But that is not needed. Right, GS examination, only 4 types of air mass you can take it. Now when I talk about temperature, what are the different temperature I can have? Either it can be cold or it can be warm. When I talk about humidity or water vapor, right, what are the different amount of water vapor I can have? Either I can say it is dry or it is wet. Right, sir. Now this is what the logic is all about. If that is the case, air mass is all about the combinations of these words. To be very technical, we don't say it as cold instead of cold. When I talk about air mass based on temperature, right, we say either it is polar or it is tropical. Right, sir. What exactly I mean to say by polar? Cold, tropical, warm. When I talk about humidity, right, sir, or when I talk about the source, right, humidity, one, it can be continental or it can be maritime. It can be maritime. Imagine an air mass is almost stable over a land area. What will be the amount of moisture in this air mass? Less. If that is the case, this should be dry, sir. And when I talk about maritime, it should be wet. Right, sir. So these are the alphabets what we use it to represent an air mass. Capital P means polar, capital T means tropical. Small c means continental, smaller m means maritime. So what are the different types of air mass I can have? I can have continental polar air mass, maritime polar air mass, continental tropical air mass and maritime tropical air mass. These are the four major types of air mass I can have. Layman's way of expressing. Right, continental polar, it is nothing but cold and dry. When I talk about maritime polar, it is cold and wet. When I talk about continental tropical, it is warm and dry. When I talk about maritime tropical, it is warm and wet. Right, sir. Only the same words, we are just going for the combination. Right, sir. So this was the first part of the question. You explain what is air mass. Right, again we'll be talking about the different types of an air mass. Now comes the question, second part. How does an air mass influence the climate? Right, sir. Now coming to the almost coming to the second part. Whenever I say air mass affecting the temperature of a particular place or a climate of a particular place, right, wherever I have continental polar air mass. What exactly is this continental polar air mass? It is cold and dry, sir. Cold and dry. Right. So only thing is that I have to say that what are the different areas in the world I'll be experiencing this cold and dry condition. Any example? Polar region. When I talk about polar region, what is the prevailing climate I experience there? It is cold and dry condition. So what air mass will be very prevalent in this polar region is this cold and dry condition, sir. Maritime polar is a rare occasion, sir. It is not so common, it is very rare. It is very rare. But one example of this maritime polar wind, you have a wind called as blizzards, sir. You have a wind called as blizzards. What normally influence the North America during the winters, sir? Sometimes these blizzards become so intense, you call it as a bomb cyclone, sir. You call them as a bomb cyclone. Sometimes you call them as bombogenesis. Right, nowadays, last year it has become so famous, it was repeatedly it was coming in news. You call them as bombogenesis. Right. Now when I talk about continental tropical, what is this continental tropical? It is warm and dry. So whenever I say warm and dry, one region immediately comes to my mind, it is tropical deserts. So I can understand the air mass which is almost prevalent in tropical desert is warm and dry. So the climatic condition induced by this particular air mass is an arid condition. Right, sir. And finally, when I talk about maritime tropical, what is this maritime tropical? It is warm and wet. When I talk about warm and wet, this is what almost facilitating the air mass of equatorial regions. Equatorial region. Entire region, equatorial region, it is warm and wet. But when I talk about the seasonal variations, when I talk about the summers of India, right, which wind plays a very important role or which type of an air mass plays that very important role in Indian type of climate during the month of June, July and August, again it is maritime tropical. What is Indian monsoon? Nothing but maritime tropical wind. Right, sir. Now this is what an air mass is. This is how air mass influence a particular climate, sir. Right, sir. Question number 5. Explain the tidal mechanism. Explain the tidal mechanism and bring out the significance of tide. One of the direct question. Only thing is that I have to say what is a tide first. Right. Only thing is that again I have to say what is a tide. Again, there is two parts of the question. What can be the rational division? Rational division can be 50-50. Right. If not, worst case scenario, it is 70-30. Sometimes if you want to almost have a balance between 50-50 and 70-30, you can also have 60-40. Right, sir. Just to tell you, no way it should be less than 70-30, sir. 30-70 or 70-30 should be the exceptional value where I can have a division between two questions. Right, sir. That too post understanding the content of the question. Right, sir. Now, this particular question, when I talk about explain the tidal mechanism, second part of it, it says bring out the significance of tide. Significance, I am talking about the importance of tide. Right, sir. So explain tidal mechanism, you write what is a tide. What is a tide? The rise and fall of the mean sea level along the longitude with the gravitational attraction of moon or sun, you call them as a tide, or layman's way, the bulge or a pulse created due to the gravitational attraction of sun or moon in an ocean is called as tide. Right, sir. Now if I talk about tide, I understand tide is due to the gravitational attraction induced by sun or moon. It is not only sun or moon's gravitational attraction, it is also the centrifugal effectivity. With a diagram, if you want to explain, you are most welcome. Right, sir. So in general, you may say what is a high tide, you may say what is a low tide. And more than high tide and low tide, what is very important, you have to say what is a lunar tide and what is a solar tide. So post understanding what is lunar and solar tide, you can also talk about the combination of this lunar and solar. Now when I talk about lunar and solar tide almost combining with each other, right, what exactly you experience? You experience a spring tide versus neap tide. Sometimes spring tide is also called as Chezhian and neap tide is also called as quadrature. When exactly you will be having a spring tide? On a new moon day and a full moon day, sir. Whenever I talk about neap tide, when exactly you will be experiencing? First quarter and the third quarter. So we can talk about what exactly is a tide, how a tide is created. Right. If at all if you want to add values, you may add it. You may talk about different types of tides. Right, sir. Now after talking about tide, the second part of the question says bring out the significance of tide, importance of tide. Right. If that is the case, what are the importance of tides? Number one, I can say tide helps in navigation. Right. How come navigation? Because few ports you call them as a tidal port. India also have one port which is called as, at least two ports I call them as a tidal port. One is Kandla and two is Kolkata. Whenever I talk about tidal port, what exactly is a tide? It means on this port, right, any ship can enter only during a high tide. Because whenever I talk about high tide, there is a rise of water, and whenever I talk about rise of water, the downdraft with respect to the mean sea level will increase. What is this downdraft? That level of sea with respect to that respective ocean floor, you call them as a downdraft. Any harbor which handles a large ship should have at least 18 meter of this downdraft. So normally when I talk about Kolkata port, it is not possible because Kolkata port is located along a riverine mouth. If that is the case, only during the high tide a ship can enter. Right, sir. Not only that, plenty of tidal ports are there in the world. I understand that navigation, right, is almost aided. Right, harboring and port activity is also facilitated by high tide. Number one. And number two, whenever I talk about high tide also means almost facilitates fishing, sir. How come? Whenever I talk about high tide, what will happen? This water will start moving towards the coastline. If water is started moving towards the coastline, I understand that biotic life will also start moving towards the coastline. Right, fish can also move towards the coastline. So if that is the case, this shelf will become rich in fishing, at least during that very short period. Right, sir. And number three, when I talk about desiltation taking place along this river, right, and whenever I talk about the removal of almost waste that is confined to the coastal areas, that will also be removed by this high tide and low tide. High tide will have a surge in the area, land area, and this low tide will almost remove all this water and all other siltations away from the coastline. Right, sir. And apart from that, the need of the hour, you can also talk about energy production, sir. I have a production of energy called as tidal energy, right? Tidal energy, and if you want to include some technical word, though I do not advise it, right? You have something called as flood currents and ebb currents. Flood currents and ebb currents. The flood currents and ebb currents that is produced due to high tide and low tide is the one which is used to rotate a turbine, right, sir? And if at all, if a turbine is rotated, that is the only mechanism what you know to almost, what we know to almost produce an electricity, right, sir? Now when I talk about rotating a turbine using this flood current or ebb current, this technology you call them as tidal energy, sir, right? So high tide and low tide is used for tidal energy production also, right? That also as a point you can add it. See, this is open-ended question, significance or plenty, but some of the well accepted significance you may write it, sir. Question number 6. Give an account of favorable local winds of the world and India. Now here, some of the papers I have seen, you have talked about all the local winds, but the question is not about local winds. This question is about favorable local winds. Those local winds which can have a favorable almost a condition or climatic condition that is resulted by this local wind. If it is favorable, I call them as favorable winds, sir. Just to tell you that all local winds are not favorable. You also have destructive local winds, right, sir? So only thing is that I should talk about that favorable local winds. For that, if you want a very small definition, you can say what is a local wind. What is a local wind? A wind which is very local, right? You call them as a local wind, right, sir? Now, any wind which is confined to a very small region and for a very limited period or not sustained for a longer period, you call them as a local wind. They are seasonal and they are regional, right, sir? And this region is very, very small in nature, right, sir? Now, you call this as a local wind, sir. Now directly you can talk about different types of favorable local winds, world and India. When I talk about world, I have plenty of winds. For example, when I talk about Chinooks, a wind called as Chinook. Chinook name, you cannot afford to miss it. Because when I talk about Chinook, what exactly it is called as? It is called as snow eater. Now comes the question, how exactly it is a favorable wind? Chinook is a warm wind, any descending wind is a warm wind, and whenever this wind acts, I understand this wind acts in a colder region. So extremely cold condition will be made moderate by Chinook. And whenever I have Chinook as a wind exposed to a particular place, the snow of this region will be removed. If snow is removed, grassland will be exposed, and grassland can be used for ranching purposes. Right, sir? And not only that, this Chinook or descending wind is also useful for horticulture, sir. Warm winds in a colder region is known for its horticulture, and even wine cultivation or vineyard cultivation, it is very, very important, sir. Right. So one thing, Chinook. Where exactly you experience Chinook? You are there in Canada, sir. The wind what you experience in US, you call them as Santa Ana. Santa Ana is unfavorable wind, right? But Chinook is favorable wind, right, sir? Now apart from Chinook, the similar type of wind you also experience in Europe, sir. You call them as Floen, sir. You call them as Floen, right, sir? So Floen is the wind what you experience along the Alpine Cordillera, sir. Right. The nature of this wind is very much similar to that of Chinook itself. Right. Apart from that, you can also talk about this wind called as Mistral. Right, sir. Mistral. So these are some of the local winds which is descending in nature. They are very similar to each other. Right. They are very useful for horticulture. They are very useful for almost making winters moderate. They are useful for grazing as a purpose, and many advantage we have. Apart from this, other names what you can add, we have a wind called as Harmattan, sir. Harmattan is a dusty wind, but still it is a favorable wind. That's the reason Harmattan has a nickname to it, sir. This wind is called as doctor wind. I do not know whether every doctor is favorable or not, but this wind is called as doctor wind, sir. Right? It means it is favorable wind. Right. In what way it is favorable? Means favorable, that also if you have word limits, you can add it. What exactly it does? Whenever this Harmattan reaches the Gulf of Guinea region, right, it results in precipitation right? It reduces the means almost persisting temperature, right? Temperature is reduced and it also brings welcome precipitation. If that is the case, both way it is a favorable wind, right sir? Apart from that, we also have a wind called a Siraku, sir. We have a wind called a Siraku. Again, a dusty wind has a source origin from Sahara, but area of its effectivity, Italy, sir, or southern European nation. This is the one which results in a kind of a precipitation called as a blood rain, sir. Forget about the color, but I understand what is the reason for this color, but I understand one thing, it results in precipitation. So these are the wind which is effective during summers and particularly during dry seasons. So whenever a wind brings precipitation during a dry season, it is most welcome, sir, right? Some of the favorable wind of the world. And when I talk about India, again there are plenty. You have winds like mango showers. Only thing is that you have to say that where exactly you experience mango showers and what exactly mango shower facilitates. Right, almost you are there in western coast. You are there in Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, Kerala and parts of Tamil Nadu, sir. This is the place where you experience this mango shower. Mango shower is favorable for which plantation? Name itself says. That is what Indian names is all about. Right, sir. Still, if you are making a mistake, you have to revisit, sir. Right. Now, it is just useful for ripening of mangoes. Right. Similarly, you also have tea showers, sir. You have tea showers. And given the name, I know where exactly I am in West Bengal and Darjeeling Hills of West Bengal and Assam. Right. You also call them as a pre-monsoonal showers. Pre-monsoon is a period in India which is known for its dry and warm and dry condition. So any precipitation during this season is a welcome precipitation, sir. You also have cherry blossom. In the state of Karnataka, cherry blossom is a favorable wind for coffee plantation. Right, sir. And to some extent, you can also talk about Kal Baisakhi, sir. Kal Baisakhi has a dual nature. Right, it is destructive as well as it is constructive. So whenever I talk about jute fields and rice fields of West Bengal, Kal Baisakhi is a welcome wind, sir. Human settlement, it is not a welcome wind. Right, sir. So it means I have a dual nature of Kal Baisakhi. Right, sir. Sometimes also called as Bardoli Chira, sir. The other name, you call them as Bardoli Chira. This is the other name what you almost we use it to represent Kal Baisakhi, sir. It is called as Bardoli Chira. To rice cultivation and wheat cultivation, jute cultivation, it is a favorable wind, sir. Right. So some of the favorable wind, favorable local wind we have analyzed, sir. So question number 7. Analyze the oceanic features in the light of plate tectonic theory. Mains examination. One area is very important, as I always say, directly or indirectly one question will be there from this plate tectonic. All endogenic forces, when I talk about the locational aspect of endogenic forces, they are confined to one place, that is plate boundary. Plate tectonic theory gives you the complete analysis of a plate boundary. Right. Now here, this question is not about plate tectonics, sir. This question is about oceanic feature in the light of plate tectonic theory. Right, sir. Even if you talk about plate tectonic theory, you are not wrong, but only thing is that oceanic feature has to be discussed. I am not worried about, or we are not worried about this landform feature. And whatever you write regarding landform feature, your answer is not right. Sorry. Only thing is that your answer is not wrong, but only thing is that it may not be right. You may not get marks for the word what you have written. Right, sir. So confine yourself only to the oceanic feature, sir. Oceanic feature. And when I talk about oceanic feature along the margins, what are the oceanic features you can have? If at all, if it is a convergent boundary, what you will find is a trench. If it is a divergent boundary, what you will find is a mid-oceanic ridge. Right, sir. Sometimes along a trench and along a ridge, both sides, what you find is an island, sir. And this island can be continental or this island can be volcanic in nature. Apart from these, right, many or very popular features, you can also talk about continental rise. You can also talk about features like guyouts, sir. Continental rise and guyouts. What is continental rise and guyout? Similar to that of a ridge. Continental rise is almost one conical feature. You call them as a continental rise. Right? If at all, if it is a kind of a flat structure, you call them as a guyout. If it is like a mount, you call them as a sea mount. You call them as a sea mount. All these are oceanic feature and they are also volcanic feature. Right, dotted features, right, not extensive, very small features. You call them as guyout, you call them as continental rise, you call them as sea mounts. Right. Now, only thing is that I have to explain these features in the light of plate tectonic theory. If that is the case, first I can talk about trench. Right, you can say what is a trench? What is a trench? A linear depression in the ocean floor, you call them as a trench. Visible zone of subduction, you call them as a trench. You say what is trench, then only thing is that again you are saying what is a trench, and number two, you say where exactly you find a trench. Where exactly you find a trench? Oceans. Very good. Right. Now where exactly in ocean? Convergent boundary in the ocean. Now you confine yourself location, sir. That is what I am taking in the light of plate tectonic theory. Where? Convergent boundary in the ocean. If that is the case, how many different types of convergence I can have in the ocean? It can be ocean continent or it can be ocean convergence. Right, sir. Both examples, some examples you can take it. Ocean convergence example you can give it. Ocean examples you can give it. Right. Then you can say how. How's process? How? Oceanic crust being denser will go for subduction. Visible zone of subduction you call them as trench. Right, sir. So again what I am answering is what, where and how, sir. Right, sir. Now, post understanding trench, give some examples of trench, some location you say. Right, sir. Some location you can say that where exactly I have some trench, some prominent example you can put it forward, sir. Right. So apart from this oceanic trench, the next feature I can talk about the ridge, sir. If I am talking about ridge, where exactly this mid-oceanic ridge is located along a divergent boundary. Only one type of divergence, you call them as oceanic divergence. Only oceanic divergence you find a ridge formation. Right, sir. Now you can say that how exactly ridge formation takes place. Oceanic crust being very thin, the probability of ocean expanding or completely opening up is very high. As and when the oceanic crust opens up, the magma from asthenosphere comes to the surface, and solidification being instantaneous, this feature grows vertical in nature. Right, such vertical feature or submarine features, submarine mountains, you call them as a ridge. Give some example. Right, when I talk about the ridge formed between the divergence of African plate and South American plate, you have one of the finest example, you call them as mid-Atlantic ridge. Right, you may give an example also, sir. Right, then you can talk about islands. Islands along convergent boundary, islands along divergent boundary. Both islands I can talk about. What is the most commonest type of island you will be having along any boundary in general? Volcanic islands. Some of the examples you can give it. Right, sir. And finally, you can talk about miscellaneous items like seamount, continental rise and guyouts. Right, sir. Again, let me tell you, here I am not talking about all oceanic features. I am talking about only those oceanic features which is present along the plate boundary. Right, if that is the case, here I am not talking about one very important oceanic features like continental shelf. Right, because shelf and plate boundary has no relevance. I am not talking about ocean floor or abyssal plains. No relevance. Right, sir. And the last question of the previous test. Explain the role of wind in development of landforms. So put it very simple, wind induced landforms. Right, sir. This wind induced landforms, very popularly we call them as Aeolian topographies. Sometimes it is also spelled as Aeolian. It's called as Aeolian topography. Right, sir. Normally where exactly I have wind resulted features? Number one, default you are there in deserts. Right, sir. You are there in deserts. Only thing is that you are there in a drier region, sir. You are there in a drier region. So only thing is that I'll be talking about the features, wind induced feature in desert. Again, one clarification, I will not talk about the desert's features. I will not talk about the features which is there in desert. I will be talking about those features in the desert which is resulted by wind, because few places in desert I also have a feature which is resulted by water. Say for example, I have a feature called as Bajada, right? I have a feature called as Vadis. I have a feature called as a dry delta. What are they? They are water created or this torrential rain created features in desert. Right, sir. You call them as Balsan Valley. Balsan Valley is nothing but water created valley in desert. Right, sir. To be very precise, I am talking about wind created features in desert. Right, sir. If I talk about this wind created features in desert, two types of feature I will be talking about. One, I will be talking about erosional features or erosional landforms, and two, it is depositional landforms. I will be talking about erosional landforms, I will be talking about depositional landforms. Whenever I talk about erosional landforms, there are plenty. If you want to explain that how exactly wind can act as an agent of gradation, or how exactly wind can result or indulge in the process of erosion, you can say wind alone cannot indulge in the process of erosion. Wind takes the help of what? Sand particles. It deflates the sand, and this sand, when it almost strikes a particular rock, it almost induces that sand blasting effect. The sand which is blasted against a rock indulges in the process called as erosion. Right, sir? Almost having said this word, right, or one line saying this, you can talk about some of the very important erosional features, sir. Right. Very popular erosional features. You have something like mushroom rocks, right? You have Mesa and Butte. You have Yardengs and Zeugens, right, sir? You have netted stones, right? So many features are there, sir. So many features are there. Some of the very important erosional features you can talk about: mushroom rocks, Zeugens, Yardings, Mesa and Butte, and so on, sir. Right. So all these are wind eroded features in desert. Similarly, when I talk about wind deposited features, and whenever I talk about wind deposited features, right, it can be Barkens or it can be safe. What is Barken? Crescent like structure, dunes. In general, Barkens or safes are nothing but sand dunes. Right, sir. So if at all, if it is crescent like structure, right, almost like an arc, semicircle in nature, you call them as Barken. If it is very linear, you call them as safes. Right, sir. And finally, you can also talk about some wind deposited soils of the world, sir. One very important soil you come across. It is called as loess. Now where is this loess? China. Right, sir. This loess is one fine example, or one more example is also there in France. It is called as Adobe Valley, sir. It's called as Adobe Valley. Right, these are the two places where wind deposited soil plays a very important role. Right, complete landform it is created by wind deposited soil. Loess in China and Adobe or Imperial Valley of France. Right, so this is all about this first test. We will take a very small break. You can also collect your papers, second test paper. It is lying outside. Right, sir. Provided you don't get demotivated. Right. See, again I am telling you, don't worry about the marks. Marks is just a feedback mechanism. And Monday to Friday after 1:30 you can access us. We'll be here. If you personally want to almost means if you are feeling that how exactly your mark can be improved. See, without studying, I do not have a solution. You have to study. Only one thing is that I'll be just telling you how exactly the knowledge can be arranged, how it can be shuffled, how it can be presented. Right, sir, take it from me. Presentation today plays a very important role. What lies within this packet we do not know, but if packet is beautiful, this product sells beautifully, sir. Right, you can sell the air mass also. Right. Product should be very good, presentation should be very good, sir. This is making a difference nowadays, sir. Good content. Without content, nothing works. But content along with good presentation. Develop this skill, sir. Right, sir. Coming to the second test. And one more issue. If you feel that it means you are not awarded, it means approximately how this answer can be, we had a discussion. if you strongly feel that you should have been rewarded more, right, you can submit your paper for re-evaluation, sir. Right. Fine, so now coming to the second test. Second test marks slightly, it is liberal, just to boost your mark, means almost moral, right? The only way of boosting your morale is boosting your marks, sir, right? So just to tell you, both the test, it is not a reality what it has reflected, right, sir? Now fine, but still, second test, it is more of opinion based, factual based questions are also there, sometimes opinion based question is also there, right, sir? So coming to the second part, the very first question, sir, it says analyze the locational pattern and problems of cotton textile industries in India. It means within one question I have two subdivisions. First, I'll be talking about location of cotton textile industries, what are the different factors which almost suggest or what exactly contribute to the locational aspect of cotton textile industries, where exactly I have the distribution of this cotton textile industry in India. Number two, I'll be talking about problems that is associated with cotton textile industries, right, sir? Most of the problem is general nature, sir, right? Now I talk about locational aspect. Locational aspect, as a belt, I understand which belt in India is known for its concentrated cotton textile industry. As a region you can give it. And one more thing, most of you almost represented this distribution drawing map of India, right? With a very great difficulty we understood that actually that was India, sir, right? Now, see, only one thing is that if approximately you can draw like India, right, you say, sir. Okay, I have seen maps, right? This is what this India was, right, sir? And people have said this is Jammu and Kashmir, this is northeastern states, this is Gujarat, and all four corners are explained. Be logical, right, sir? So only thing is that even, see, one thing, examination, don't expose your ignorance, sir, right? Whatever you say it beautifully. And computer is not able to resist it, sir. As I said, one, we are talking about the locational aspect, and number two, the problems that is associated with it. Now, when I talk about the locational pattern, one I can say where, sir, because I said whenever I talk about this WH questions, since this question is talking about the locational pattern, first and foremost I can say where, right, sir? If that is the case, one belt should be represented or at least mentioned, that is Gujarat and Maharashtra belt, sir, right, sir? Suppose talking about Gujarat and Maharashtra belt, you can also talk about the Manchester of the south, right? That can also talk about, when I talk about Coimbatore belt, that can also be brought in, right, sir? Now, post saying that where exactly I have this locational aspect, you can talk about the nature of this industry, right? For example, whenever I talk about this nature of this industry, any manufacturing industries, generally it is of two types, sir. One you call them as raw material oriented industry and market oriented industry. So when I talk about raw material oriented industry, most of the time this raw material is weight losing in nature, right? The weight will be losing, sir, right? Or every process the weight will be lost, right? You call them as weight losing industries. When I talk about market oriented industries, most of them they are weight gaining industry, right? Assemblage industries. Now when I talk about this cotton is a special type of a raw material, you call them as a pure raw materials. It's pure raw material. Now what is this pure raw material? Pure raw material is one which is neither weight losing nor weight gaining, but it is not footloose industries, right, sir? Now what happens, whenever I am just processing 100 kg of cotton, right, the product will also be 100 kg, right? Neither it will lose weight nor it will gain weight, right? If that is the case, cotton textile industry can be set anywhere. This is what the general idea is. But still, when I talk about the reason, there are few reasons why Maharashtra and Gujarat is known for its industrial setup, right? One, you call them as geographic impetus, or sometimes you also call this concept as industrial inertia. Right, so you call them as industrial inertia, sir. Right, so we're just talking about the locational aspect of this cotton textile industry, particularly in Maharashtra and Gujarat. Right, we understand that cotton being a pure raw material, wherever these industries can be set up, it can be, means almost you can set it up. But only thing is that it has to be located anywhere between two places, sir. One, the place where you get the raw material, and the place where you get the market, sir. So anywhere between this market and raw material, you can actually set this industry, sir. Because I understand it is not going to almost result in variation in the transportation cost. Right, sir. But still, when I talk about cotton textile industries in Maharashtra and Gujarat, one locational aspect is there. That is, whenever I talk about cotton growing tract in India, right, again it needs black soil, sir. So when I talk about the spread of black soil, which state dominates in the spread of black soil? It is Maharashtra followed by Gujarat. If that is the case, production of cotton is more in Maharashtra and Gujarat. This is one aspect. So when I talk about market access, at least we have two market access with respect to Mumbai. Mumbai itself is a market. Apart from that, I understand that port-oriented market is also there. So it means this cotton textile, if at all if it is processed, it can also go for exports, sir. So I understand that locational aspect, right? I understand in general both market access is also there, right, in this area, and raw material is also there. And when I talk about the regions like Coimbatore, when I talk about Manchester of the South, the only reason for it, you call them as industrial inertia, sir. Now what is this industrial inertia? When I talk about industrial inertia, somewhere some person will be setting an industry, sir. Even he will not know for what reason he is setting up an industry. Once he sets up, everybody will start setting up the similar type of industry, sir. This is what you call them as industrial inertia. It means one impetus or one almost primary aim has to be there, or I put it this way, it means one initial setting up of industry is needed in some area, right, sir? So once one industry come in a particular area, it will be surrounded by many such industries of similar field, sir. This is what you call them as, sometimes you call them as industrial inertia, or sometimes you also call them as geographical inertia. When I talk about cotton textiles of the south, the reason is more of this industrial inertia, right, sir? So these are some of the factors which is responsible for the location of this cotton textile industries in general the different parts of India. If you want to explain in detail also, you can say that what are the other regions apart from Maharashtra and Gujarat, sir. Right. Maharashtra, Gujarat and Tamil Nadu, others are very limited areas what we have, sir. Now, after talking about the locational aspect, we also talk about the problems that is associated with the textile industry, sir. Now I talk about the problems of textile industries in general. Raw material itself is a problem. Say for example, whenever we talk about the quality of cotton, at least we have three types of cotton, sir. You call them as a long staple cotton, medium staple cotton and short staple cotton. So during partition, what happened? Most of the long staple cotton growing tract, it went with Pakistan, and Indian side, right, what exactly it got retained in this medium and short staple cotton. Right, economic value of this medium and short staple cotton is very less. So geographically speaking, this long staple cotton now is not confined to India. This is one reason. Raw material itself, the quality of the raw material is not so great. If that is the case, we depend on input, or we depend on, right, almost import of this good raw materials, sir. Right, this is one very important problems in the raw material itself, sir. Apart from the problems of raw material, right, we also understand cotton growing tract also is known for farmer related issues, sir. If that is the case, I understand it means Vidarbha as a region is known for its farmer suicide, right? Institutional failure is also experienced in this region, particularly this cotton growing tract in India, right? So apart from this raw material oriented problems, you also have some institutional problems. When I talk about institutional problems, most of the machineries what you use it for means cotton manufacturing, they are obsolete, sir. You call them as outdated, right? So modern machineries is not used, right? And power consumption is not so effective, and even if power consumption, when I talk about power consumption, when I talk about most of the industries in India, it almost experience a problem of frequent power cuts also, right? This power supply is also not very constant in general. Apart from that, we also experience labor related problems, right? So these are in general some of the problems of cotton textile industry in India. And as I said, whenever I talk about problems, this is open-ended, sir. And one thing I understand, whenever I ask about, or whenever in general we talk about problem, we have plenty of points to be answered, right, sir? But only thing is that has to be related with this industry in general, right, sir? Now going to the second question, it says explain the factors responsible for distribution of sugar industry in India. Direct question, explain the factors responsible for distribution of sugar industry in India. Again, whenever I talk about sugar industry in India, sir, sugar refineries, only 2 states it is known for major sugar refineries, sir. All other minor examples you have. But what exactly is the major example? It is Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh, right, sir? Now, when I talk about explain the factors responsible for the distribution of sugar industries, I understand this is the region in India where sugarcane production is more. But very interesting observation we have, or interesting fact we have, whenever I talk about sugarcane production, right, which state tops is Uttar Pradesh. When I talk about sugar production, it is Maharashtra. Now comes the question, why sugarcane one state and sugar one state? It is because of various reasons. Analyzing this fact, whenever I talk about sugarcane in India, at least 2 types of sugarcanes we have, sir. Tropical varieties of sugarcane and subtropical varieties of sugarcane. Now, what is the advantages of this tropical variety? When I talk about Maharashtra almost experience this tropical variety of sugarcanes, right, sir? When I talk about Uttar Pradesh, it goes for subtropical variety of sugarcanes. Now, tropical variety of sugarcanes, the sugar content is also high than the subtropical conditions, sir. And one more thing, when I talk about crushing periods, from the harvest, right, how long you can prolong this crushing of sugarcane, you call them as a crushing period. This crushing period is long for this tropical variety, right, sir? But when I talk about subtropical variety, crushing period is very, very less. More is the crushing period, the sugar content, it means in this sugarcane will be limited or it gets reduced, right? This is one problem, right, sir? And one more thing, when I talk about culturally speaking, when I talk about Uttar Pradesh, right, every sugarcane is not utilized for sugar manufacturing, right? Most of them, they are converted into jaggery or goods, right? I hope you understand what is this jaggery, right? If that is the case, sugarcane being converted into sugar is very limited in Uttar Pradesh, but it is maximum in means Maharashtra, sir. Right, with this very small ideas, answer for this question can be almost extended, right, sir? Plenty of other reasons can also be given, sir. And again, when I talk about sugarcane or sugar industry, the sugar industry is a type of raw material oriented industry, sir. Every sugar refineries are located very near to the place where sugarcane is cultivated, because sugarcane is a perishable item. Sugar is a perishable item. So more is the journey or more is the travel, sugar may perish, and the transportation cost is also high, right, sir? So it is weight losing industry, perishable nature, and transportation cost being high. Every sugar industry is located very near to the growing tract itself, sir. Right, this is what you have to explain in your answer. Coming to the third question. Third question, again open-ended question, sir. Give an account of non-conventional energy resource potential of India. Now here itself, definition itself, this answer key has one slight confusion. I'll correct it. But still, whenever I talk about this question, what exactly this question talks about? This question talks about account of non-conventional energy resource. See, one thing again I repeat it, non-conventional energy resource do not mean it is renewable. I have an overlapping. Majority of non-conventional energy resources, they are renewable in nature. But what is this non-conventional energy resources? Put it very simple. Whichever energy resource is not conventional, you call them as non-conventional. Right. Now, what is conventional? Old technology. So far, how exactly I am producing electricity or energy? How exactly this energy is harnessed till today? What is very common? Conventional energy. Right, whichever is not common, whichever is new, that is non-conventional energy resources. So what is this non-conventional energy resources? These are the new techniques and technologies for harnessing the energy. Right, sir. And most of the new technologies developed for harnessing renewable energy. That is the reason, right, most of non-renewable energy also becomes renewable energy. But a word of caution, non-conventional energy resource may not exactly mean renewable energy. Right, this is what the meaning I am trying to convey. Right, sir. Now, post having a definition, what is this non-conventional energy resources? Now, I can talk about some of the very important potential of India. See, one thing, this question can be best answered if you know the fact, exact fact. What is the potential? Right. What is the solar potential of India? Right, sir. If that is the case, what exactly is the tidal production or tidal energy production or potential of India? Right. What exactly is the wave energy production potential of India? If you know the facts, you can represent it. Otherwise, you can say, right, you can have this word, right, you can say India is known for its high potential of solar energy production. Right, nobody can deny it. Right, sir. And India being a member of International Solar Alliance, you can say, right, one of the founding member of IA, means ISA, right, India is known for its solar potential. Right. If you're writing the answer with fact, I welcome it, but again, do not bring a fact which is exactly opposite to the reality. Right, sir. Now, understanding what are the different non-conventional energy resources, any new technology what you employ is this non-conventional energy resources, sir. As you said, when I talk about solar energy, right, you can talk about solar energy, right, where all you can set up solar energy, and what is the logic when I talk about the distribution of solar energy? Entire India solar energy can be set up or solar panels can be set up, but one thing is there. In order to have maximum insolation, where exactly the solar panels or energy production has to be set up? In a region